Hi everyone. Today I am super excited to share with you our latest outgoing integration. It is version 2 of our Slack outgoing integration with Zenduty. If you recall earlier, our version 1 of our Slack integration was able to send you incident updates in real time. So whenever a new incident is created, acknowledged, resolved, or reassigned, you would be able to sort of send those notifications to a Slack channel. We have recently released a whole bunch of features in Zenduty in what we call as the incident command center features, which includes the incident task templates, incident tasks, incident roles, and incident tags. So after having released our primary sort of incident command system features, and since Slack has also sort of released its own set of new UI framework, which they call as the Blockit, which basically allowed us to do a lot more with our Slack integration. We decided to sort of bring this version 2 of our Zenduty Slack integration, and it does a heck of a lot more than our version 1. So let's go ahead and see what I'm talking about here. We're calling this integration the Slack Incident Command System integration. And the way to integrate this integration is simply go to the service and click on add a new outgoing integration and click on the Slack Incident Command System integration right here. So after you create your Slack IC integration, you'll go ahead and configure the integration. So you'll basically sort of have a button that says authenticate your Slack. So after you authenticate your Slack account, it'll sort of present you with this particular page. Now let's sort of go through what this integration does or can do for you, right? So the earlier Slack integration was only able to sort of help you send your service alerts or service incident alerts to a single channel, right? So it can be your incident channel or your war room channel. So the Slack IC integration has two configurations. So you can either send it to a single channel, so you can select which channel you want to send it to, or you can have a multi-channel approach. So a multi-channel approach basically says that whenever any incident is created in the ZDProd service, it'll create a new dedicated channel for that particular incident, and you can just sort of provide your channel prefix, and then it'll basically attach the incident number to the channel name prefix that you select. So let's go ahead and save this integration. Awesome. Okay, cool. So before I sort of demo you how that integration looks, let's just sort of take a look at what the team looks like, right? So it's basically, we have a team called the production team. It has 3 people. That's Michael, Jim, and Dwight. We follow an ICS within this particular team, and in the ICS, there are basically 3 primary roles for every single incident, which is the incident commander, whose job is to basically manage the entire incident lifecycle. You have the comms lead, whose job is to communicate to the internal and external stakeholders regarding the status of the incident, and of course sort of update the status page, Twitter, and so on and so forth. You also have the ops lead that is sort of primarily responsible for the root cause analysis, and finally performing rollbacks or changes, and then making the changes, and finally deploying those changes to production. We have created a task template for the production team. So in the task template, basically for every single incident that is created, what we're going to do is we're going to assign this web application checklist task template to our ZDProd service. So what that means is every single time any incident is created in the ZDProd service, these tasks are sort of automatically assigned to that particular incident. So let's take a look at what that looks like, right? So what we have here is our production website, and what you can do is just browse the website, and then finally you realize that a major sort of component of the student page is not working. The courses are not being listed. So if I just take a look at inspecting this particular page, I would see that there's something missing here. Why are the courses not being loaded? And as you can see that the enrollments, the students enrollments endpoint is for some reason failing. There's a 404 not found error. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to Slack, or rather what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise a Zenduty incident. So this account is Jim's account, so I'm just going to be Jim, and I'm just going to say Zenduty create. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly create an incident. I'm going to make it a high priority incident because it affects pretty much all of our customers. I don't know what went wrong, but I've just detected this issue. I'm going to assign this to Michael, and I'm going to say that student courses not. So I'm just going to quickly sort of define the incident, and as much as possible, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of take the network logs. Maybe that might be helpful. So I'm just going to say that the is throwing a 404 error. Please fix. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this particular incident. Awesome. Okay, let's see what happens here. Now we are looking at Jim's account, and the incident has been assigned to Michael. So let's go ahead and see what Michael looks at, right? Awesome. Okay, so what we are looking at is Michael's dashboard, and this is what Michael's Slack looks like. So we are in Michael's account, and as you can see that a new incident has been triggered, assigned to Michael, and you'll notice that a whole bunch of things, the task template that we assigned to the ZD prod service, these tasks are sort of automatically created for this particular incident. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge this incident. So as you can see that the outgoing integration configuration that we did was for a single channel per incident. So as you can see that we also have, let's just go back to the configuration of our service, and let's just look at the integrations that we have, right? So we have we have integrations with Sentry, with GitHub, with Heroku, and of course we have outgoing integrations going into Slack IC. We have an integration with Jira, with Zoom, and with Status Page. Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna add a context integration with GitHub and with my Heroku. Great. Okay, so we have this ZD prod service configured. Now, as Michael, let's go ahead and see what Michael can do the moment the incidents, the moment he acknowledges the incident. So as you can see that this incident, I think, is something that both Michael and Jim need to get involved with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the dedicated incidents channel, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few responders. So I'm going to add Jim, and I'm going to add Dwight as a responder. So what Zenduty will do is it will automatically invite Jim and Dwight to the channel. Now let's see what has happened before this incident, right? So we see that the student courses are not loading. I can just quickly sort of go and check out the website. So right now I am as Michael. So I can just go ahead and quickly glance if the course is not being loaded. So I have just validated the incident. All right, cool. So why has this happened? So as you can see that for the ZD prod service, we've added a couple of context integrations, namely with GitHub and Heroku. So the context integration sort of give us context about what happened before the incident. So it might be a change that was created, that was pushed to master, that got into Heroku, which might have sort of malfunctioned, resulted in a malfunction of that particular component in our website. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and see what has happened in the last 120 minutes. And yeah, as you can see that there were some changes made to GitHub in the last 2 hours. And we see that there has been a build and a release that has gone out in the last 1 hour. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead, and now that I know that there's possibly something that is that might be sort of associated with this particular git push. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to that particular commit. But before that, I have a couple of tasks to do. The first thing that I'm going to do is I need to assign roles. I'm going to take over as the incident commander, that is Michael. What I'm going to do is I'm going to assign Dwight as the comms lead, and I am going to assign Jim as the ops lead. Okay, awesome. So the moment I assign Dwight, Michael, and Jim as the comms lead and the ops lead, you'll see that these tasks are sort of automatically assigned to Jim and Dwight. So if you recall, when we took a look at the task templates, each of these tasks in the checklist are mapped to a particular role. So the moment you assign a role to somebody, the tasks that are sort of mapped to that role are assigned to that individual. So as Michael, I think since I've already assigned the role, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change this task status to done. Awesome. Okay. Now, if I look at what Dwight sees, right? So this is Dwight's Slack. Dwight can go into the incident 17, and basically sort of he'll get the notifications on Slack. He'll know exactly what's happening. So the first thing that Dwight has to do is change the status page. He can say this is in progress. So this is what Michael looks at. This is what Michael gets to see, that Dwight is currently sort of updating the status page. Now let's go back and see what Jim is up to. So Jim has raised this issue, and he's already added to the incident 17 channel, and he sees that he's been assigned a couple of tasks, that is checking the last commits and deploy, finding the RCA, making the change request and deploying the change, and then testing the change and closing incident is assigned to Michael. So what Jim can do is firstly go to GitHub and check what has happened. So what Jim can also do is look at the context for the last 60 minutes. Okay, so Jim knows that there has been a push into this main repo that has automatically sort of built into continuously deployed into Heroku. So he can just quickly go into this particular commit, and he gets to see what has changed. So as you can see that there has been a change in this particular commit. So if we go back to the inspect element, let's see what's happening, blah blah blah. If I look at the network, it's looking for students ID and enrollments. So let's see. we look at the latest commit, and you can see that a particular team member has sort of changed the enrollments endpoint that might probably have failed this particular endpoint. So let's go ahead, let's open our code. Let's pull our code, and we see that it's already sort of up to date. And if I just go back and see that the fix had a small typo. So while the React endpoint is looking for students' enrollments, you see that the URL was sort of misspelled. There was a typo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit the change. And I'm going to push this change to production. So what I'm going to do here is as Jim, or rather this is Dwight. If I go back to Jim, I'm going to say that I'm going to change this task status as in progress. I was able to find the RCA, so I'm going to make that as done. The change request has been made, and the change is currently being deployed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that is in progress. In the meantime, let's just look at what's happening in status page. So since we already have an outgoing integration with status page, let's go ahead and see what's happening with status page. We see that Zenduty has sort of already created the status page issue, and since this task was sort of assigned to Dwight, he can just go to the status page and update the status if needed. Now, if you notice that we also have an integration with Zoom, so what people can do is they can just click on the Zoom link. Jim, Dwight, and Michael can just join the Zoom link, and if they want to communicate sort of in real time, they want to talk over a conference call, they can just click on the Zoom link, and they'll be able to sort of be in a conference call immediately. You also notice that a new incident has been created in Jira. So let's go ahead and open this incident and see what's going on here. So as you can see that the Jira outgoing integration has already sort of automatically created this bug in bug ticket or issue in Jira, so they can follow up on the Jira issue from Slack itself. Okay, so let's see what's happening right now. So let's just go to the Zenduty page. Now, as Michael, I can see that Jim has pushed some changes to the repository, possibly the fix for the incident, and we're just still waiting for the deployment to finish. So in the meantime, what Jim can do is quickly update the team as to what the cause was. So what he can do is he can add a note and saying that the latest commit had a typo in the so I can say that currently deploying changes. Now, Jim has added this note. So that is exactly what everybody else gets to see as well. So if you're in the dashboard, you'll be able to see the note right here. But if you're in Slack, you'll be able to see the notes. Sort of everything is updated to the same message. There's absolutely no sort of noise or any kind of repetition. So whenever there are any changes to the tasks or any notes that are added, you'll be able to sort of just see that particular message getting changed. So it's basically a very sort of less noisy way of updating your team on what's happening with the incident. Now I can see that Jim has already sort of analyzed or identified the root cause, and he's already made the changes. So let's just go ahead and I'm just going to say, let me know once the fix is live. Or rather, what I'm going to do is, instead of maybe doing it right below the message, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add it to the thread, so that it's much more efficient to sort of, whenever people want to see the channel, they don't need to see the messages. They can just simply see the incident details first, and if they have to contribute to the incident, they can just use the thread. All right. So Jim can just reply. Will do. So let's go ahead and see what's happening. Okay, so our deployment is done. Let's just quickly check if our endpoint is working fine. Okay, awesome. So we are getting good GET request here. All good. Okay, awesome. Fine. So our fix is live. So what I'm going to do, what Jim can do is go to Slack and say that the changes have been deployed. So I'm just going to assign, rather I'm going to change the task status to done. Great, awesome. So now Michael knows that the only thing that is remaining right now is to change back the status page and to test the change and close the incident. So Michael can just go to the website, test if the endpoint is working fine, which it is, and Michael can just go ahead and click on done. Now, what Michael also needs to do is to add a tag to the incident, so which he could have done before. So this was more of a sev, rather a sev1 kind of an incident. So he can add that tag, and of course it was also a backend issue. So you can just add the backend tag. So with the tags, what you can do is you'll be able to sort of categorize the incident, and when you're finally in your analytics, you can sort of use those tags and create your reports. So back and front end, sev0, sev1, sev2 incidents, you can just filter them by tags and analyze your incident data later on. Awesome. So in this video, I think finally, I think what we can do, what Michael can do is everything is done, and you can just go ahead and resolve the incident. So what Zenduty does, or rather gives you an option to do, is to basically archive the channel once the incident has been resolved. So as you can see that the channel has been archived. So if you need to sort of maybe see that channel again, you can just go back to the incidents channel and it's all right there. Awesome. Great. So I think in this video, I think we covered pretty much the entire sort of incident life cycle within Slack. So the good news is that I think you can pretty much do everything from creating to escalating to adding responders to assigning tasks, to assigning roles, following up, all from within Slack. And you can sort of manage the entire incident lifecycle end to end within a single Slack channel. I think Slack has done a pretty awesome job by releasing BlockKit, and it's basically opened up sort of like a whole bunch of capabilities within Zenduty. So a few things that I did not cover in this example is even though the tasks that you see right here were added through the task templates, as a user I can also sort of assign or create a task ad hoc and assign it to somebody in my team, or assign it to a specific role as well. So whenever any task is assigned to a team member, right, it may not be somebody to whom a role is assigned, it can be anybody basically. So that particular someone, right, to whom the task is assigned will receive a notification on Slack saying that that task has been assigned to them, and they can see the task description, they can follow up on the task, or they can sort of assign it to somebody else. They can change the status from within Slack itself. So this was our Slack incident command integration, outgoing integration, and we hope that you'd love to sort of implement this within your team. If you guys are already using some kind of an IMOC system or the ICA system within your team, the Zenduty Slack integration would serve you really, really, really well. Looking forward to your feedback. Please leave your comments on the comment section below, and looking forward to your feedback. Thank you so much.